Hi all, my name is Nina Means, Director for Austin Community College Fashion Incubator. And my guest today is Sharrion Jenkins, who is the Executive Director for Quality Control and a Project Manager with Campus Operations at ACC. Hi, Sharrion.
Hi, how are you?
So nice to have you. I've been wanting to have this conversation because a lot of people don't understand or know the origination story of the fashion component of what ACC offers to the local community. So what we wanted to do was to tell the story because I know that you were pivotal as a part of this initial conversation and how these things got started. But I think it's really important. A lot of people know you at ACC, but a lot of people don't know your fashion story. Like you don't know your background. So let's start there. Like, when did this all start for you? How did you get interested in fashion?
Well, it started about, I'm originally from Chicago, and I was probably in second or third grade. And we had a choice in the summertime to go to cooking or sewing school. And so because I really wasn't interested in cooking at all, I opted to go to sewing school. And that's where it started. I started sewing when I was about 7 years old. I learned to sew when I was 7.
Wow.
And then I decided all through grammar school that I would, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to design clothes or I wanted to sew. And so I went to a vocational high school. I went to Dunbar Vocational High School in Chicago, and my major was dressmaking.
Wow.
And so after being in dressmaking for 2 years, my dressmaking instructor suggested that I take tailoring because I was so far over. There was no more growth for me as far as she was concerned in dressmaking. She said I caught on really easily. I could make patterns and design, and she thought that tailoring would be harder for me. It would be different from the dressmaking. I made all my grandmother's, my mother and my grandmother and sisters' clothes, and all of my clothes going through high school. So
Wow.
learning how to tailor, I thought would be a challenge. And so I started my tailoring career in high school, and I got a full scholarship to the University of Arkansas in fashion design. After I was there a year, they decided to change it from fashion design to fashion design with an emphasis on fashion merchandising, because in the mid 70s, I'm dating myself, when I went to college, they decided that it was looking like merchandising was becoming the thing at the time. So sewing, while I still had all those sewing components to the degree program, merchandising became very important. And so, so I graduated with a fashion merchandising with a design major from college. And I went to Parsons in New York right out of college.
Wow.
For a year. And I went there to find out what the difference was with what I had learned at the university to what they were teaching at Parsons, because at the time merchandising and fashion was big and Parsons was the place to go. And so I went there for a year, decided that was not what I really wanted to do. I really, at the time, thought merchandising was what I wanted to do. So I decided to go into merchandising, and I was a buyer for the Jones store in Kansas City for 2 years. And then I decided to move back to Chicago, and I became the manager for the flagship Marshall Fields on Michigan Avenue in Chicago.
Wow.
And I did that for 2 or 3 years. I also interviewed at that time, right after that, Oprah Winfrey's show was big in Chicago. So I went and interviewed because I've always been what they call, I wasn't the model size for for dressmaking. I always was the larger size. And they didn't really have really sleek things for larger people. I was 5'7" in the 6th grade, I believe. I've always been really tall, and I was always larger than the style for my size. And so Oprah Winfrey at the time she was a big girl. And so I thought it would be fun because I had learned how to dress that size. And I thought it would be cool to go interview to be her wardrobe person. And I didn't get that job, but that didn't deter me. I continued at Marshall Fields, left there after 2 years, because being on your feet in retail 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, this is what it felt like. I decided that wasn't what I wanted to do. And so I managed several boutiques still buying and sewing at the same time. I started making wedding dresses and decided I got tired of that. And I just got tired of sewing and decided I wanted to do something else after about 15 years being in fashion. And so then I decided to go back to graduate school. And I decided I wanted to be in education. So I worked on my master's degree in curriculum and instruction. I got married. My husband was in the military, so we moved around a lot. And I ended up in El Paso, Texas, where I became the director of admissions for a preparatory school. And that is where I found that thing that I really liked. I liked educating and I liked being a part of that. So I started teaching there. We moved to Austin and I worked at Airborne. I worked a couple of other jobs and then I got in at ACC. And I've been here 22 years. Mm-hmm. When I came to ACC during that time, I had gotten kind of away from fashion and had decided that interior design was what I wanted more than fashion design. Because if you can do fashion design, you can do interior design because it's all about color and scale, either one. If you understand color and scale with fashion, you can do the same thing on a larger scale. And so in the late 90s, I incorporated and started my own construction company, which I still have.
That's
and
amazing.
Started flipping. I started with my own home. I bought a fixer-upper. And then friends would say, well, who did this in your home? Or who did that? And who chose these fabrics? And I was like, well, I did that. And so then I decided to make it a business because I was doing it for friends all the time. And it was like, okay, this is a lot of work for free. So I decided to do it as a business.
Yes.
And it became a very successful business. And then once I got away from the fabric part of the interior design, then I decided to do full-blown construction. I worked at ACC for around 19 years doing my construction business on the weekends. And so my husband and son worked with me in that business. And I happened to have done someone found out at the college that I did that work. And it was right after ACC had purchased Highland Mall. Mm. And so they had asked me prior to that, I just felt like every time. So at ACC, my job was in continuing ed to start courses in community programs that people wanted to learn, the skills that people needed. And so one of the the first courses I introduced as director of community programs was at that time, I don't know if you even remember this, but Trading Spaces was on HGTV.
Oh yeah, I love that show.
That was the hottest class out. That was the hottest thing on television. Mm-hmm, and so everybody was calling the college wanting to know if we had courses on home improvement things, which we didn't. And so I went to our dean at the time and said, hey, we should start these courses on renovation. Everybody wants to know about renovation. And so we should start these classes. And we had at the time a big space and we called it the Skill Center, which was down where the Rio Grande Garage is now. Okay. And that's where we had those classes. We did faux painting, how to lay tile, electrical, plumbing, all of those courses. And they were huge. Everybody wanted to take those courses. And at the same time, we had our upholstery program going. And so all of the students were wanting to learn how to do upholstery because that's what the thing was. They were showing on HGTV at the time. And so those courses went really, really well. They really outgrew themselves. We grew out of the space that we were in. We didn't have enough space. We had tiled and taken the floors up and tiled them again and taken the floors up. Faux painted, did everything we could do down there. And then they decided to build a garage in our space. And so that went that program. So we no longer did the home improvement courses anymore. And so after that, we did floral design, and then we started the event planning program. And all of those programs I started at the college in continuing education. And so I know that whatever is going on in the industry, what's going on in the world, what people are watching on television is what the students want. And so community programs gave them the opportunity to try and experiment with all of those things. Our floor design program is one of our largest programs. Event planning is another large program that have turned into businesses since we've been at the college. And so I got those programs up and going, and then, you know, you do it for so long, and then you get kind of bored with that. And so I
Because you're an
talked with
entrepreneur at heart. Like, I feel like there's like, you're like, I build things, and then I'm like, okay, we know how that works now.
I'm done with it.
So
Absolutely.
what's next? What's the next challenge?
Next?
So Sharrion, yeah, I appreciate the energy you put towards the things you build.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to kind of wrap up a little bit, kind of as we're going towards the tail end of our conversation here, is, you know, whenever you're looking at what's possible with fashion at ACC, what are some of the things that you're hoping for?
I'm hoping to see the students that are in either the CE or the credit program or the fashion design program really use the incubator to their advantage. Really go there and learn. If this is something that you really want to do, there's no better place than ACC to have a jump start of that, to get your business started, because there's nowhere for young entrepreneurs to go and learn the business of running a business. It's really easy for you to you know, get in the trap of, you're so busy making and designing, and people who design and those have the creative minds. And I'm not speaking for everyone, I'm speaking for myself. I'm not very good with contracts. I'm not very good with making sure I'm getting paid, making sure that I'm finding the best, the material at the best prices. And that's something that you learn in the incubator space. So I would hope that you would learn in the incubator space, is absolutely how to spend your dollars, how to make those dollars grow, and then how to put those dollars back in the community, and how to you know, how to understand the business of running a business, the business of being a creative person, but knowing where your strengths are and knowing what you can't do for yourself. It's really easy to get in that trap. I know friends who have been beauticians for years, and they don't understand how come they have their own business. That's something you've always wanted, but you're not creating any wealth for yourself or for your family. And it's exactly how you run that business. You know, you have to understand the business of it.
Yeah.
And I think designers can do very well if they go through, if using the incubator to their advantage, because there's no place else you can go where you can have a space that you can have people come in and see your designs. It's like having a little studio or a little store of your own right there at Highland. And then you have the ability to have all of us, everyone who works at ACC, everyone who goes to ACC, to be able to go over and see your designs. And so it's kind of like a built-in market for you to already sell your wares, or already and show your wares to other people. And that's huge for a young designer, to be able to let the world know what they have. And you just, those of us who work here, there are a lot of people at ACC who are very fashion conscious and looking for young designers and looking for designers that we can buy their wares, and we can showcase their wares and let people know that they came from ACC, or where they can find them, so that they can find them, so they can generate that wealth that we're all trying to get as entrepreneurs. All of us who are entrepreneurs and who've gone into business for ourselves, our number one thing is to have that freedom to not really work for anyone, because it's really hard to work for someone and then do that thing that you love, because design takes time.
It does.
And unless you're willing to work 24/7, which is what I do most of the time, I dream about it, you know. And so when you dream your work, then you love it. And my grandmother told me, and my dad told me this a long time ago, if you find something that you love, you don't ever go to work. You just go to do what it is that you love to do. So it's not easy starting your own business. It's not easy being an entrepreneur, but it's fulfilling. But you also want it to be profitable.
Absolutely.
You also want to be able to make money.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got to eat over here, right? We can't pay.
We do.
We can't pay the bills with dresses, but
Exactly.
not the actual dress with the revenue.
Right.
Yes, we can. But yeah, I love that. When you dream your work, that's beautiful.
Yes. Yeah. Well, sometimes you're like, go away. I need to rest. But you can't help yourself.
Yeah. But when you dream your work,
I enjoy fashion. I ain't sorry. I didn't mean the
no
speed came back differently. I enjoy fashion as much as I do interior design. The two of them for me is my happy place.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Mhm.
I really do. We are, I'm always curious to know, because I know, look, you're a busy woman. You got a lot on your plate between QC and project management and your own business. Have you gotten any time to do any fashion, special projects in the last little bit?
No, I try to stay in my lane. I try not to go back and forth. I'm 100% in interior design right now. I love fashion. I shop constantly. So that's where I give back to the fashion industry is I buy it now. I don't make it as much as I used to. I stopped sewing for myself right out of college. I was out of college when I started, because it's really hard also to find the notions and the fabrics and those kinds of things. They don't have the stores like they did that had those kind of things for you. Like they did, when I first started out, you could just go to any store just about and buy fabric.
Mhm.
But it's not as easy as it was. That's why I think I'm really, really happy that they brought it back, because that was one of those things that I did not want manufacturers to take over, and it'd be a dying art that went away. And I'm just beside myself that we are able to bring that art form back. You'd be shocked at how many people can't hem. Or it's like, what do you mean you can't hem? I thought people came out the womb knowing how to hem. Whoa, what do you mean you
Absolutely.
can't sew a button? You can't sew a button. Who cannot sew a button? There are a lot of
Who
people who
failed
cannot
you?
sew a
Who
button.
failed you that did not teach you how to sew a button?
Exactly.
These are life skills.
So exactly. And so having that skill come back. And another thing that had happened during all of this, when the pandemic hit the United States, I was very, very, very excited to see. I'm also over facility support at the college. And at that time, we have over 150 employees who help keep the college running and help keep the college looking good. And when we found out that, there was a shortage of masks, when the pandemic first hit, because I knew how to sew, it was a no-brainer for me to say, okay, we're going to go over here and we're going to make these masks. And so I just did a call for employees to find out who knew how to sew. I said, if you know how to sew and you're interested, we'll be at the Fashion Incubator making masks. And we were able to make over 1,000 masks. We had fabric donated to us that Victoria gave to us, and we made over 1,000 masks in a week that we could give to the ACC employees and the ACC students so that they could be safe right out of the bat. Before now, you can get a mask on every corner, but back March last year, you couldn't. And so we were able to make masks very quickly, and they were very nicely done. I was surprised at the talent that we had working at the college. I mean, they came in and they understood not only how to use the regular domestic sewing machine, but they could use the industrial sewing machines. And that was very, very, very impressive that we had that many employees who can sew. And so if you have that many employees who can sew, that means that this fashion, the whole design and this fashion incubator thing, it has a lot of potential for other people. If they can sew, you can, if you decide you want to design even masks or handbags, it's not always clothes, jewelry. Right. Some of the talent that we have in our students and our employees is unmatched. And having an incubator where they too can go so that they can be able to learn how to, start a small business, I think is amazing.
That's awesome. Well, we're really excited to be able to bring this resource to life and to be able to support the vision that the college has had, and you as a founding, part of that, process, really getting these things up and going, introducing fashion to ACC. We really appreciate the value that you've brought to the program, as well as to some of the, I think, some of the things that we'll be doing here in the future. So I'm glad that we had, absolutely. Well, I'm glad that we were able to have this conversation. Okay. Thank you so much for your time again.
Thank you.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Have a great one.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye.